Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're mapping out a deeply unconventional, honestly mind-bending framework of existence. We're looking at a source text that just totally throws out our standard notions of time, language, geography, and human perception. So this isn't your standard physics lesson. Instead, we're unpacking this wild philosophical theory where the physical world is entirely dictated by your perception, and hidden codes literally lie within the sounds of the words we speak every single day. To really get this framework, we got to start with its core thesis on time. According to the text, the vast, sprawling universe as we usually think of it, it's actually completely imaginary. The true, absolute size of existence is literally just a 1-second loop called now. And you might be wondering, why 1 second? Well, the author states that's the precise amount of time it takes for a human mind to comprehend the word now. That's it. Everything operates on this micro loop. The macro experience that we feel like we're having, that's just the daily repetition of that single fleeting second. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our map for today. 1. The geometry of now. 2. Earth as light and perception. 3. Decoding reality through phonics. 4. Jamaica, the pineal center. And 5. The singular self. Section 1. The geometry of now, structuring existence. The text outlines what it calls a pyramid of being. This basically categorizes our state of existence based on exactly how we move through space. Right at the very top, the absolute highest state of being is simply being alone in nature. From there, you step down to walking, then down to a bicycle or taking a free ride. But here's where it gets really interesting. At the very bottom of this hierarchy, the text labels driving a vehicle as being a slave to the machine and running as being a gambler. It's this fascinating inversion of how modern society usually values speed and mechanization, right? So within this hierarchy, absolutely everything around us is categorized as either now or just information. And the text creatively splits that word information into information. Basically, it suggests that the past and the future are just latent patterns. They don't have shape. They exist merely as potential. It isn't until that data physically intersects with the exact present moment that it crystallizes into reality. And once that 1 second now passes, poof, that crystallized moment dissolves right back into formless data. Section 2. Earth as light and perception, the shape of the interface. Okay, forget the whole debate about a round Earth versus a flat Earth. The source text claims that Earth lacks a physical shape altogether. Instead, it says Earth is simply light. Think about that grand dome of the sky we look up at. The text argues it is not some physical atmospheric limit. No, it's actually a boundary imposed by the physical shape of your own eye. Your eyes are literally rendering reality as a dome. It's the shape of your biological interface, with light just dissipating at the very outer edges of your sensory reach. And this brings us to a beautiful, if incredibly unusual, contrast in the text. Looking up at a blue sky during the day, that is described as the mind viewing itself outward. But looking up at the Milky Way at night, that is the mind viewing itself inward, acting as a literal starbait. The author uses this striking metaphor here. Imagine existence is like a reality with one 24-hour news channel. There are actually over 1,000 channels available, but nobody realizes they're holding the TV remote to change them. Section 3. Decoding reality through phonics. Language as source code. Let's move to the next layer and see how this builds. The source relies heavily on phonetic decoding, meaning listening to how words sound rather than how they're actually spelled. Take the word world, for example. Phonetically, it sounds like world, right? The text interprets this to mean that all information beyond the present now is actively whirled into the past. Reality is an active spiral. In fact, the text decodes the word spiral phonetically as spy real, meaning to see true. Let's look at another one, singularity. The author argues that true existence is simply singular. By adding that suffix, ity, you're actually stepping outside of the singular state to look at it, which immediately creates separation. So dropping the ity removes that illusion of separation entirely. In this specific philosophy, being singular is the undivided engine of life, while being separate, that's just the exhaust. Section 4. Jamaica, the pineal center, the geographic seat. And this brilliantly illustrates the geographic theory at play here. When looking at a map of the Americas, the author points out a massive spiral shape. The framework claims that North and South America actually represent two giant blades of a pinwheel, or a spiral, with the island of Jamaica sitting precisely at the center pin. Now, the text assigns very specific anatomical and metaphysical roles to these regions. North America is categorized as the right brain machine. South America, that represents the left brain spirit. And Jamaica, sitting perfectly right there between them, acts as the geographical pineal gland, or the third eye, essentially the seat of perception. Furthermore, the Caribbean Sea is phonetically decoded as Carry-being, serving as an actual space-time vessel for existence. Going even deeper into the phonetics, the text draws a massive contrast between America and Jamaica. America is decoded phonetically as aeye.villas, representing a virtual simulator, or what the author calls a holodeck. In total contrast, Jamaica is decoded as iamaica, making it the authentic awareness, or the main deck outside the simulation. The text even points out a fun fact. Jamaica is the only country in the world whose flag colors do not include red, white, or blue, which the author says further separates it from the simulation of the rest of the world. The framework actually grounds all this heavy metaphysics in physical biology and agriculture, specifically looking at Jamaica's famous yellow yam from the Trelawney Parish. The text notes that the word yam sounds just like I am. Because of this, the yellow yam, which grows in this rich red soil, is referred to as sun-space-time fuel. So it's not described just as food, it's framed as a biological, space-time bending fuel, which ironically enough is famously eaten by Jamaican sprinters like Usain Bolt. Now what's really interesting about this next point is the ecological anchor to the theory. The rugged, highly elevated cockpit country in Jamaica acts as this massive natural aquifer. It supplies somewhere between 33% to 40% of the entire island's fresh water. Because this terrain is so untamed and hard to access, it remains a pristine biological sanctuary. For the author, this untouched limestone plateau is way more than an ecosystem. It is the true beating biological heart of this geographic pineal center. Section 5. The Singular Self, Biology and the NPC Theory. If the ultimate goal of life here is to be singular and locked into the now, then modern technology is viewed as the ultimate trap. The text decodes the word phone phonetically as fear alone. It asserts that smartphones basically act like Ghostbuster traps. When you stare into your screen, hey, maybe even the one you're listening on right now, you are instantly disconnected from the now. You get locked inside a cell with your own mechanical reflection, constantly deceived by an external force rather than seeing your true singular self. And that leads us to a pretty startling biological metaphor about humanity itself. The word people is phonetically decoded as people, which points directly to the singular source of reproduction. Think about it. Out of millions of sperm, only one survives to create life. According to the text, this means the human experience is that of a sole protagonist. The millions who didn't make the cut? Well, they're reflected in your reality as echoes. Or, as the text implies, they are essentially non-player characters, NPCs, just populating your world. So, the crucial point is this. The text proposes that without your personal ability to judge and perceive, others simply cannot exist. Your reality is a 1-second loop, rendering the entire universe strictly through the dome of your own eyes. And that leaves us with a truly provocative final question. If this entire system reboots daily every single time you get a good night's sleep, who or what really exists outside of your own perception? It's a striking implication about the limits of simulated reality, leaving us to wonder just how much of the world is actually just our own mind world outward.